Hi, I'm Kate, and today I'm going to talk to you about another one of our crucial data governance and privacy questions. Today we're going to be talking about the topic of data quality automation. We'll talk about the process steps that it takes to set this up and use it effectively in your organization. The first step that we want to think about is, where do we want to apply data quality automation? Now, it's worth noting that this functionality, this capability, is something that we can do when we are using Axon, our data governance tool, EDC, our enterprise data catalog tool, and DQ, our data quality tool, in conjunction with one another. You have to have all three parts to be able to do this automation. Now, the first step relates to something we do in Axon, which is where we're going to define the key concept that we want to monitor the data quality of across the board. So this will typically be a KDE, key data element, such as in this example, a customer ID. Now, once we've defined that using all of the relevant stakeholders and got the approvals we need, we want to think about where that data concept actually exists across the enterprise. We can do that, we can discover that using our enterprise data catalog. We have another video talking about the matching techniques and the ways in which we would discover that data. But we're going to look to find customer ID everywhere it exists across your enterprise, so we know where we can start measuring the quality. The third step is to agree what kind of expectations we have of this data. So if it's a customer ID, we want the business users of that data element to tell us what they expect that customer ID to look like. Maybe it always has to be 10 digits long. Maybe it's always an integer and never an alphanumeric. Maybe it always just has to be complete. Any of these can be turned into data quality rules that we can then begin to monitor at scale. Once we've agreed the standards, so we know that there's a standard expectation that we want to exist every single time we find that data element, we can decide to create what we call a standard data quality rule. Now, a standard data quality rule doesn't actually measure anything specifically. It is an expectation, a data standard that applies to a concept in your glossary. And this will be set up in Axon as well. Now, what we can do that's really going to help keep this decision-making power with the business is actually use natural language processing, so that the business can write in the expectation of the data in normal, plain English, and have that translated into a rule on the fly. So you might say, in this example, very simple, field should not be empty. I want to create a completeness rule. The field should never be empty, so tell me when it is. Well, that's going to translate. You can also do slightly more complicated ones, but mostly, because we're looking to measure this every single place we find it, it's kind of those broad-hitting rules. We want to know if it's there and if it's valid. It's probably not something you use for your very complicated rules, which might be done in data quality directly. But it's a great foundation for your data governance when you can choose these broad rules to get going. So once you've decided that standard rule, you can choose to actually apply it automatically. And that actually just involves you ticking a box in Axon as you create the standard rule. And what you're saying is, I don't just want this to be a guideline that people try and adhere to. I want to actually go out and everywhere I've found this data, everywhere I've tagged a customer ID using our enterprise data catalog, I want to check if that data is complete and bring back a scorecard for me to get a fuller understanding of where my data quality issues are. When you've done all of these steps, you can then monitor data quality at scale. Imagine even just that one rule, customer ID, where is it complete, where it's not. But I know it for every system that I've scanned now. I now know where the best source of data to get a complete set of customer IDs is, and that can be done and continuously measured on the fly. And I've done it from a business perspective, never having to do anything remotely technical, entering my expectation in natural language and having all of the technical heavy lifting done automatically for me in the background. Thank you for listening.